if you listen to this program regularly or watch it regularly or even read what I write, I remain horrified and to a certain extent mildly baffled at the continued budget cuts for Social Security Administration, especially given the wave of baby boomers retiring. Well, our next guest knows a lot about that topic. J. David Cox is the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, union representing federal and D.C. government employees, and so he is representing a lot of the folks who are affected by the office closures that have been going on with Social Security. In fact, as we record this on Thursday, I believe he's just coming back from a rally in Arlington, Virginia, but he will tell us more about that. So first of all, J. David, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me with you today, Richard. It's a great honor to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And I guess my first question is this. You were in Arlington earlier today, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I was. There's a move to close the Community Social Security office there in Arlington, and that area services about almost 24,000 people in that location, and there's 8 employees there for 24,000 people, and just to sort of give you a flavor of the work at Social Security, 10,000 Americans turn 65 every day. So there are lots of people applying for Social Security just because they've reached the retirement age, but that doesn't count the number that go for disability claims or survivor benefit that would occur when a parent would die. So we need these local community offices, and we shouldn't be closing them down. Everybody's just not equipped and suited to do and process their claim on the web. They need that human interaction.
Yeah, you know, J. David, I wrote about this a while back. I wrote that because there was a document going around, I think, in 2014, long-term strategic vision and vision elements that talked about maybe closing all of the field offices and having everybody do it on the web. You mentioned doing it on the web. I got to make a personal confession here. I went on the web myself. Now, this was in 2014, just to look and see what benefits I was accruing. They used to send you these things every year. That stopped, and I found it a little bit challenging. I wrote about that, and people said, "Well, you know, you're just old." And well, A, isn't that the point? But B, look, it's not simple for everyone. Sometimes you have questions, right, that are going to be too complicated to answer on the web, like, you know, what happens to me if I cash out now versus, or apply for benefits now versus later, and so on, or there might be other questions about eligibility or what have you. So people, we are going to need human beings to relate to in these offices, more so than ever, I would think, as more and more people are retiring, as you described, right?
Clearly, and while when people reach the retirement age, and nowadays most folks have got to be 66 or better years old to reach their full benefit, and many people are working till almost 70 years of age or before they file for their claims. This is the type of information people need, that face-to-face interaction as to what it would affect their benefit. But then there's still millions of people in this country that are disabled. None of us have a guarantee of what tomorrow may bring, and that's part of this whole Social Security system. It's the best anti-poverty program that's ever existed in not only the history of this country, but the history of the world. And those are very serious claims, complicated claims, and they need that benefit of interacting with a Social Security employee to be able to process their claim and get it processed in a timely manner. And many folks, when they become disabled, they've lost income. They need to get that claim processed in an expeditious mannerism.
And again, we're talking with J. David Cox, who is National President of the American Federation of Government Employees. So here's another part of these cuts that I just don't get. And I mean, I think I get it, but but not really, okay? And it's this. As I understand it, Social Security is required by law to be self-sufficient, including the administration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that
You are correct.
So the money we put into and that our employers put in on our behalf to the Social Security system, that money is supposed to pay for this administration. Now, so even with all the deficit fixation that goes on in Washington, D.C., you're not really, as I understand it, affecting the deficit by cutting Social Security's budget. Social Security's, if you look at the budget, the administrative costs as a percentage of total money taken in compared to benefits are much better than the private sector already. So why would Congress have a motivation to keep cutting it? I know they voted a little more money, but why do these cuts even happen given that, why are we even arguing about this when there's more need for it as more people retire and it's not cutting into a deficit? So even if you're worried about that, what's all this about, you think?
Well, I believe part of it's about the fact that they want to make it more complicated for people to file for Social Security benefits. Therefore, you make the system where it won't work so that people say, okay, the system's not working, and members of Congress say, okay, I told you it's not working. We need to get rid of it. There was a push during the Bush administration to privatize Social Security and put it all in the stock market. But in those last years of the Bush administration, I think all of us were very glad that our Social Security was not in the stock market because it kind of bottomed out with everything else, and people were crying about their 401ks. And, you know, when Social Security has said that closing offices saves money for the process, but it's about, you know, they really want the greatest savings by people not processing claims, not processing them timely. If you're disabled and you know it takes a while to get there, it's about delaying people from processing their claims for Social Security. And while we were in Arlington today, there's also an office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Mitchell Street office that they closed in March of this year that served 2,300 people a month, mostly a Latino neighborhood where the average income was $26,000 a year. Most of those people didn't own cars, so they couldn't drive somewhere. They used public transportation to get to the Social Security office. So all of that is, you know, it comes into play. And again, it's for greater savings from Social Security of not processing benefits. It hurts lower income people in this country.
You know, and I haven't looked at it in a while, J. David, but last time I looked at where these office closures are happening, it did seem to me there were a lot of lower income neighborhoods. I looked, for example, also at where I originally come from, which is upstate New York, and some of the closures up there. You really, what you described for Arlington seems to me to be true of the country as a whole. They're really putting these offices, the ability to go see a fellow human being, out of the reach of a lot of people. If you don't have a car, or if you're not capable of driving, or if you don't have the income to drive a car, they're really foreclosing this. And what you said, this ability to talk to people, and what you said about delaying the capture of the ability of people to receive the benefits they're entitled to. I mean, I remember reading something about the fact that there are a lot of people, especially on disability, who tragically pass away before they're even able to collect benefits. That just strikes me as not right.
It is, and it's totally not right, because we all pay into a Social Security system, and that system is to provide for us in the event that we become disabled. I myself started drawing Social Security benefits when I was 6 years old because my father passed away. But for that Social Security benefit, I don't know how a single mom would have been able to have raised me, tried to provide for me, give me a chance to have an education, and for us to make it in this world. And I was one of the lucky people that President Johnson decided many years ago that if you went to college, you could draw your Social Security till you was 22. And then President Reagan came along and said, well, that's a bad idea. We don't really need to help people to go to college. Let's stop their benefit when they turn 18. So, clearly I was a lucky individual, but Social Security made all the difference in my life. And I've paid that money back over and over because I've been able to make a better living. So I paid more taxes. I've bought more things. I pay more property taxes. It's a gift that keeps giving back to the community. And what's happening over in Arlington, the next closest office is in Alexandria. It's already serving 49,000 beneficiaries, and it's not readily available for public transportation. And obviously here in the greater metropolitan area of Washington, D.C., public transportation is important to all of us. If you have a car or not, it's very, very important for the accessibility of getting around as it is in many major cities.
Absolutely. And you said something that I think is really important that I want to get back to for a second too, J. David, and that's the notion that people want to cut, certain politicians, let us say, want to cut government services, and then they can turn around and say, see, government can't do anything right. And I've seen that time and time again. And, they overload people, they cut back on the number of people doing a job, and then if there's a long telephone wait or what have you, then they see government. To which I always say, well, if you've ever tried to change your cable service, you know that the private sector isn't necessarily an answer to bureaucracy. But with all that, now you represent so many government workers, including a lot of the workers who are, they're attempting to stigmatize, really, I would say. And that's got to be tough on a person's morale to go into the office and work hard every day to provide a service to the public and then go home and turn on the TV and see politicians trying to make it out as if you were somehow the bad guy. Is that a problem for folks?
It clearly is. AFG proudly represents over 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers throughout the country, and these are hardworking individuals. And most of our members, their average take-home pay is around $500 a week. So let's be real; these are not fat cats getting a whole lot of money, making a whole lot of money working for the federal government, but they believe in the mission of what they do. If you talk with the folks that work at Social Security, they believe in the mission of that agency with every ounce of zeal that they have in them. It worries them when they can't get claims processed as fast as they would like to, and that people end up waiting in the offices. They clearly want to do a good job. And as you talk about, calling the cable service, let the airlines all of a sudden let there be some bad weather and see just how long you hold on to the airlines trying to get something changed. It's about customer service, having enough people to do the job. And Social Security services all American citizens. We need more employees. We need it close to people. We need the human interaction because people are making decisions that will affect them the rest of their lives.
So absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Where can people go to get more information about this, or what can they do, express their opinion to their elected representatives or whatever? What do you recommend to folks who are not happy about this?
Well, clearly, I would encourage everyone to visit our website, afge.org. There is a lot of information about that. I encourage everyone to call their two senators and their representative, talk to them very clearly about the fact that they want a Social Security community office close to them to service them, and not just members in the United States Senate and Congress. They need to talk to state representatives, county commissioners, city council folks. Today in Arlington, there was a fair number of politicians saying, don't close this office because it provides good service for our constituents. So everyone gets into the game and wants their constituents to be serviced. So I think every politician, no matter what level, we need to be lobbying them. People need to talk with them, and we need to drive it home. Social Security is it's a great thing to have in this country.
All right. Well, J. David Cox is the national president of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE. J. David, thanks so much for your good work, and thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much, Richard, for having me today. Look forward to being back with you in the near future.